The first time I met Jake Gibbs, he didn't say much. He just grinned. Each adult in our school had a small mentoring group that met every Monday, and Jake was assigned to my group. I could tell you stories about each of the boys in my group, but Jake was the glue that held us together. Every Monday morning, while I was trying to wake up, Jake would always be happy and smiling. For 2 years, we had activities, set goals, played team building games and paper football, and ate donuts. We even had a fantasy football league, which Jake ran, of course. All the students in the school loved Jake, and many claimed to be his best friend because he was kind to everyone that he met. And Jake was very good at math, so good in fact, we had to put him in 7th grade math as a 6th grader. Being a former math teacher and really good at math myself, we used to laugh at what nerds we really were. But besides math, we both played soccer. I also coached, and he was a ref. By Jake's 8th grade year, I knew him better than any other kid in the school. After one really long February day, I was in a PTO meeting in the library when an emergency page came over the intercom for me to go to the gym immediately. As I ran through the halls to the gym, my mind and heart were racing, wondering what I would find when I got there. A broken arm, a bloody nose, a sprained ankle, an asthma attack, or maybe an angry parent yelling at a coach or a student refusing to do what they were told. But what I saw haunts me to this day. There, lying on the gym floor, surrounded by people, was Jake, receiving CPR. Nothing in principal school had prepared me for this. Everything that happened from then on was like a dream, slow motion and blurry around the edges. I ran to get the defibrillator, then got on my knees next to Jake and opened the machine, ripped open the package with my teeth. But before I could use it on him, the paramedics came through the door. Then, Jake's mom came through the door. She tried to get close, and the paramedics looked to me to keep her back. She cheered him on, looked at me, and asked, "What do we do?" All I could say was pray, and I was. They worked on Jake for what seemed like forever, and then loaded him on the stretcher. Jake's mom rode in the ambulance while I drove her car to the hospital. I called Albert, the first person in my phone and on my list of prayer warriors, and told him the situation. I drove, I prayed. An army of doctors and nurses worked feverishly on Jake. I gathered his mom and several family members together, and we prayed. When the doctor came in, we all knew Jake didn't make it. We cried, we hugged, we stared in shock. It was Wednesday night, so I went to church to find someone for prayer after I left the hospital. As I drove, I got calls from the superintendent, our guidance counselor, and the county head of counseling. My thoughts then turned to the kids. We had 500 students that we had to be ready to help the next day. I tried to help as many students as I could, but mainly I just walked around in a fog. After the students were gone, Jake's mom best friend came in to see me. She said, "The family wants me to ask you something." And I said, "Anything, of course." She said they wanted me to preach his funeral and graveside service. Me? Preach a funeral? I'm not a preacher. They didn't have a church home and didn't want someone that didn't know Jake to do it. They didn't go over this in principal school either. So the next 3 days were spent planning the funeral, trying to help our students, especially the players that had been with him. I deal with hurting people on a daily basis, students, parents, grandparents, even teachers. Sometimes I get frustrated that I'm not allowed to directly tell them that what they need is God. I've even thought of taking another job where I could talk about my faith more freely. But then I might not have the opportunity to build relationships with hurting people as easily. And while the law might not allow me to speak the name of Jesus, the law can't stop me from being Jesus. My name is Shrader, and I'm a minister.